I love the thought that you have about when planning a course. You have this great quote, structure and choice can happily coexist. And it's about the idea of kind of giving students agency and directing their learning. When you're designing a course, how do you strike a balance between covering the essentials, and I realize that that can be a pretty complex thing to dive into also, and at the same point, supporting student choice?
Yeah. So I do what many, many people do, right? Which is I design my courses backwards. And I
Yes.
design from the position of what do I want them to walk away knowing and being able to do at the end of my trimester.
Yeah.
And then I work out when the assignments have to come.
Mhm.
And then I work out what do I need to teach them in anticipation of those assignments, not just in terms of content, but really in terms of skills so they can do it well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then only then do I get to what are we going to read?
Hmm.
What are we
Yep.
going to do every day, right?
Yeah.
I also make sure at that point that I build in time for feedback or grading if you're someone who
Yep.
grades, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's on my calendar from before all the readings get slotted in so that I know after in the week following something being turned in, I've got time set aside to do the feedback.
Hmm.
But I also make sure I have time the week after that too,
Yep.
because that means that when somebody comes and says, the printer died, oh my God, I lost all my work, my laptop
Yeah.
crashed, I can say, it's great, take another couple days. And it's not going to then cause some sort of traffic jam for my workflow down the road,
Sure. Sure.
right? So I can
Yeah.
be flexible. Um, and there's a limit to flexibility
Yeah.
because I learned this when I had a class. I had two sections, 50 students in the same class. So they were all writing the same papers at the same time.
Okay.
And I knew myself and my ability to grade 50 papers at a time was just zero.
Yep. Yep. Hmm.
Zero.
Hmm.
So I said to the students, hey, you're grown-ups. You can turn in these papers. Here's all the information you need to do it. Turn them in whenever you want to this term. And what happened was, of course, everybody turned in two papers on the last day of class.
Yep.
So now I had 100 papers to grade, right?
Yep.
Before the grading deadline was done. So I learned a valuable lesson there that we all need structure and scaffolding, and
Yes.
I need it
Yes.
as well, right?
Hmm.
So that's when I moved to being much more intentional about how I build in time for feedback and grading
Yeah.
and all of those things before I get down to what do I have to cover.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, if I'm hearing that correctly too, thinking of something like a deadline or a due date, which can have this kind of scary vibes, but almost using it as like a structure to support. Like
Yes.
I'm doing this so that like to make things easier for the long term of you going through the course and last week
Yes.
and yeah, and even just for the instructor of just being realistic and giving that sort of grace about what's actually realistic.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, when they hear about me advocating for kindness, make
Yeah.
some assumptions and they think it
Sure.
means anything goes,
Hmm.
right? They think it means to hell with standards,
Hmm.
no scaffolding, no structure, no
Yep.
deadlines. But in fact, those are all elements of being nice to people, avoiding conflict, avoiding hard conversations, not taking responsibility or accountability for your job as
Yeah.
the instructor. And so kindness is much more this kind of planning. And kindness is structure and it is deadlines, but it's also then building in the flexibility so
Hmm.
that when someone's laptop crashes, it's not a crisis. It's merely a question of what do you need? 2 more days? Have 2 more days.
Yeah. Yeah. Going on a little bit of a tangent, but it's about just flexibility, also empowering students. Have you ever had a situation where maybe you incorporated more flexibility or freedom or opportunity for discovery with an assignment. And when you got it back, it's like, wow, I never would have imagined it going this direction. And I'm so glad it did.
So I'm a historian and I
Sure.
teach, because I'm at a small school, I
Okay.
teach all the American history before the Civil
Sure.
War.
Sure.
In all of my classes, pretty much, we do something called an unessay. So there, you're not writing a paper, but
Hmm.
you are showing me what you have learned in any other medium you want.
Yeah.
Those projects are always revelatory. I've had people do 19th century embroidery samplers and people remake Barbies to make commentaries on gender. I've had people compose and sing sea shanties. People have made food from a particular historic era.
Yeah.
Um, and this is all very structured, so there are reflections that go with these projects, right? But they're
Yep.
much more informal than a formal history paper.
Sure.
And
Sure.
there are proposals, and I get to sort of weigh in on this
Okay.
seems expensive enough, or this seems not expensive enough,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Or maybe reining people in if they're like, I'm going to write about the fall of the Roman Empire, right? Like, that's a wild example, but like
Yeah.
that takes a while. You have a
Yep.
month.
Yes.
Um, so those projects giving students the ability to choose what they want to really pour their energy into and the opportunity to show me that they're thinking and learning, but without having to mediate that through writing,
Yeah.
often makes space for people who find writing especially challenging, for
Sure.
example, to
Yep.
flourish. But it's not just the people who find writing challenging, it's everybody. People have a lot of fun with this. We have a gallery
Yeah.
walk at the end when everybody brings what they made.
Hmm.
So it's just a really refreshing, different way of getting them to interact with the past.
Join us for part 4 as we discuss exciting developments in the world of teaching and learning.